Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Josh, and today, by popular demand, we are doing a head-to-head comparison between this Lexus NX hybrid and the Toyota Rav4 hybrid. Now, this is technically a Prime, but it is close enough to a regular Toyota Rav for the sake of argument in this video. As some of y'all know who have been with me from the start of this channel, we own both these vehicles. The NX is my daily driver, while the Rav4 is my husband's daily driver. And because you all happen to know that we own both, and we absolutely love both the Rav and the NX, you guys just wanted an actual real-world owner's comparison and thoughts on where they're the same, where they're different, how they compare, and who should buy each. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have commandeered both these vehicles for the day so that we can sit in them, talk about them, drive them. We're going to start with a quick hits list of what is the same between the two cars, and there is a lot of similarity between the NX and the Rav4. Then I'll share my opinions on who should buy each car, and then we'll take them out on the road. And as we drive them around, I'm going to be talking to you about what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm hearing, all the kind of things that you guys wanted to know in terms of the differences really in a day-to-day situation on the road with each car. And finally, at the end, we'll go through value and verdict. So let's kick it off with our quick hits list of what's the same between these two great crossovers. All right. First of all, they sit in the same compact crossover class. They share the same rigid underbody chassis, sometimes referred to as the platform, so they are, again, very similarly sized vehicles. They both have incredible proven reliability, great fuel economy, low cost of ownership, low depreciation, which means the best return on the investment you initially made to buy the car. They are both manufactured on the same lines, whether in Cambridge, Ontario, or the Takaoka plant in Japan. They both share the same gas engine, and that gas engine now is also shared with the Highlander hybrid and the RX hybrid. However, the NX does share the electric motor with the bigger RX and Highlander, so you do get a little bit more power there. And all of those hybrids, but specifically the Rav4 and the NX hybrid, run perfectly well on regular gasoline too, so you don't have to buy premium. They share the same all-wheel drive system, meaning the front and back wheels are not mechanically linked to the engine, but they have a rear electric motor that sends power to them when you need it. You can also get the same available premium features on both, such as a 360-degree camera, digital rearview mirror, panoramic moonroof, and full Softex and Nulux interior. In terms of livability and day-to-day driving dynamics, they are both incredibly pleasant to drive, as I've said many times over about the NX. The same is true for the Rav4. They are really just the perfect car for what a lot of people need on a day-to-day basis. And so with that, let's dive into the differences now, and we're going to start by talking about who should buy the NX and who should buy the Rav. So let's start off here in the Rav4 and talk about who should buy a Rav4 hybrid. And right off the bat, I think the person that's shopping the Rav4 is looking for the biggest bang for their buck. Not that the NX is not a good value, but the Rav4 just sits at such a perfect spot in the market in terms of price to features, long-term cost of ownership, long-term depreciation, long-term reliability. It checks all the boxes for someone who's looking for something incredibly practical that's not going to break the bank at initial purchase or down the line through many years of ownership. Especially the base model trims, which are in the low 30s. I mean, that is the kind of car that you can drive around if it gets trashed, if it gets dirty, if it gets, whatever else inside. It's just not that big a deal. It's not like you're getting a Lexus interior dirty and Lexus leather dirty, and you're not trashing a car that you spent 60 grand for. And that person might be shopping that way because maybe they have a baby on the way, right? Maybe it's your first child, or you've got a young child and you're a family of 3. So you're looking for a cost-effective utilitarian vehicle that's not too big, but not too small. That's really where the Rav4 shines. And it doesn't just have to be kids. If you are a dog person and you're going to have dogs in the back seat and in the cargo area, or maybe you're a mountain biker and you take your crossover out to the trails on the weekend, and you might get in the car and be sweaty and, muddy and dirty and gross. It's not that big a deal if the interior in a Rav gets trashed. Now, with that said, if you are one of those people who plan to potentially trash your vehicle, I would definitely go for the Softex seating. Softex is basically vinyl. It is a synthetic leatherette kind of material. The great thing about Softex, we have it in my 4Runner and in our NX, is that stuff just wipes up like nobody's business. It's never going to stretch. It's never going to stain. It's so easy to clean. It's great for dogs because, dogs' paws. It's more resilient than leather as well. And again, for kids, dirt, mud, vomit, whatever the heck it is, just wipes up. You can even take baking soda to it. And, if you really have to scrub it out, you can do that as well. It is the perfect interior material, I think, for someone with an active lifestyle that's going to need to get their car dirty. The NX and really the Venza, on the other hand, are really for people who are maybe more urban oriented, live in city centers, or live very close to the city in the suburbs, and want something that's more of an upscale, premium, stylistically driven experience than the RAV4, which is very utilitarian. The NX and the Venza, despite sharing the same rigid underbody as the RAV4, are definitely smaller and less utilitarian inside. One of the things that you'll notice as we switch back and forth between the two cars is the RAV4 looks and feels a lot bigger. The Venza and the NX are not the kind of cars you buy if you need to be consistently hauling things around and carrying big objects. The roofline in these cars has been lowered by a few inches to give it that more sporty stance and silhouette that you see on the outside. As a result, the cargo area is a lot smaller in the NX than it is in the RAV4. The back seat as well is smaller and tighter than you'll find in the RAV4. So this is really a car, the NX and the Venza, are really two cars for maybe you're a retired couple and you have grandchildren now that you carry around once a week. Or maybe you're like my husband and I, who are young professionals who don't have any kids yet. And the reason I say all this is that I've gotten a lot of questions from people about whether you can realistically do the NX as a family vehicle. And at least here in the United States, I think you really should go up to a Highlander or an RX if you're looking for a car that will comfortably fit 4 people on a regular basis. Same thing again with cargo. This is the perfect kind of car if you're going to Crate and Barrel, if you're going to Pottery Barn, if you're going to Trader Joe's, and all you're bringing back is maybe a really nice table lamp or a lot of groceries from Erewhon, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods. This is the car for you. But it's not the kind of car that you want to be putting a mountain bike in the back of. It's not the kind of car that you want to put a big dog in the back of. They will be probably pretty miserable in the teeny tiny cargo area in the NX and likewise in the Venza. On the other hand, if you value what the NX brings to the table, I think you'll absolutely love it. The NX brings, again, premium materials, a really upgraded experience, great technology. You can get a head-up display, 14-inch drive display. You have a lot nicer materials everywhere you look. Everything you put your hand on is a little bit nicer in the NX than it is in the RAV4. But even with all the premium features and the upgraded materials and the luxurious design in the NX, it is still nowhere near as precious as something like a Lexus LC, and as a result, it is still the perfect daily driver for someone who, again, just wants a more premium, more upgraded experience. And now, let's get out on the road and I'll take you for a drive in the Lexus NX and you'll see exactly what this car does so well. All right, here we go. Underway in the Lexus NX. Our engine just kicked on as we turn out onto one of the arterial routes here in my area. I'm going to take us down toward the highway because I want you to be able to hear this car at full, freeway or highway speed, so you can hear what's coming in through the cabin, what noises the engine is making. We will get this car to a point where we can really rev the engine as well, so you'll be able to hear that and how loud it gets. I know a lot of you are concerned with that. Overall, though, a lot of people have a misconception that the NX is going to be a significantly different experience than driving the RAV4, and that's just really not the case. These two cars are both very similar in the way that they drive, the way that they handle, the road feel, the steering input, what's coming in through the cabin. The NX is a little bit firmer because we are on 20-inch wheels. I love the 20-inch wheels, so I was willing to sacrifice a little bit of the ride. But even on these 20-inch wheels, on the factory Bridgestone Alenza run flat tires, the ride is really not bad at all. So right now we are cruising on just through the neighborhood, leaving my neighborhood to get out toward the tollway. And here in town, just driving through city streets, neighborhood streets, such a pleasant car to drive. In my first video, which was my 5 likes and 5 dislikes about the NX, I said that one of my likes was that this car is just endlessly pleasant. It is the perfect daily driver kind of commuter car. It is not crazy in any way. It is not overly sporty. It is not loud. It is not, raucous or rebellious in any way. It's just so pleasant. You might be able to hear the sound level went up a little bit, and it's going to again as soon as we get across the next intersection. That road is horrid, and so you'll hear the sound level come up again even more in the cabin. And that's the thing that I think people overestimate about the NX. I have said to a lot of you in the comments, and I think some people have been surprised when I've said this, that I don't consider the NX to be a true luxury car. I consider it to be a very nice car, a very premium product as compared to a RAV4, but it's not in the upper echelon with like a Mercedes-Benz E-Class or a Lexus ES or LS or any of those other cars. It's still, the bones of this car, the rigid underbody here, is still, you know, from a very economical little crossover, the RAV4. This is a tiny little 4-cylinder hybrid. It's a 2.5-liter engine that's having to work really hard even to move this relatively compact car. And it's got an electric motor to help it there, but the engine is still having to work really hard to move this car forward, especially at higher speeds or at high RPMs, like getting off the line from an intersection. And so you're going to hear that, and you're going to feel that. It's going to come through the steering wheel. It's going to come through the pedals up at higher speeds. That is the trade-off, though, that you're making, because this car, unlike an LS, unlike an E-Class, unlike a GX, a Lexus GX with the beautiful V8, is getting 37 miles to the gallon. I mean, you are lucky to get like 15 to 20. You can even hear it here as we accelerate into traffic. But you are getting, I mean, in a GX, you would be lucky to get 15 to 20 miles to the gallon. Now we're on rougher road, and you probably heard the sound level there just come up quite a bit because we're on less nice pavement. So you're hearing that come through the cabin, you're hearing it come through the wheels. Again, I'm attributing some of that to the wheels and the run flat tires, but even this is not bad. I'm not having to like shout at, you know, at you for you to hear me. And this is one of the worst paved roads in our area as well. And so this is about as loud as it gets when you're just kind of cruising around at city speeds. We're doing about 40 miles an hour here. Yeah. All right, here we go. There is no one in front of us, so we are turning onto the tollway here, and I'm going to open it full throttle. Trying not to smash the car in the toll booth. All right, and now here we are on the open road. Now this is a concrete road, so again, it has gotten louder here in the cabin. I feel like I'm having to speak a little bit more loudly than normal. And you're hearing wind noise as well. That's one other thing that the NX and the RAV4, wind noise is worse in the RAV4, but you do get a little bit of wind noise here in the NX as well. And I'm going to move into the left lane. I'm going to give it a little bit of gas so you can hear that at highway speeds too. So here we go. You do get, so that was us going from low 70s to low 80s. You do get a little bit of that vacuum cleaner sound because this is not a traditional CVT, but it's not a traditional cogged automatic either. On the highway though, I've heard from a lot of people that say, oh, I need the RX because I do a lot of highway driving and I need something more stable and blah, 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 blah. And I gotta tell you guys, the NX handles beautifully on the highway. This is a great cruiser to do either short trips, like kind of, you know, from like my house to the office on the highway, or longer trips from, you know, here inner city, like from Austin to Dallas or Austin to Houston or anything like that. Especially if it's just, you know, you or maybe you and your partner, something like that. The NX is more than enough. And the thing with the NX that changed for this generation is we now have exactly the same hybrid system, so the same 2.5-liter engine and the same electric motor in the NX and the RX. And this is enough power in the NX that I would not want to drive it on the highway in the RX. Now, I also live in Texas, and as you guys know, you might know, in Texas, we go fast. It's one of my favorite things about living in Texas. So, you know, not on this road that we're on right now, but on some other roads in town, like the expressway I take to the airport, I mean, people are doing 100 miles an hour on that road. And where a lot of even very powerful cars fall down is at the 90, maybe 90, 95, 100, you know, range. You run out of steam very quickly in a naturally aspirated car, even in some turbo cars. In the NX, even at that high speed, you can pass people with ease. The car is small enough and powerful enough that it is very agile on the road, and I really love that about it. This car feels so solid on the road. I mean, you can steer your way out of trouble. You can brake hard in it, even at, you know, high 80 speeds, and it's not going to ever make you feel like it's going to tip over. Sometimes when you take on evasive maneuvers like that in the 4Runner, for example, it does feel like the car is going to tip over and fall sideways and whatnot. Not in this car. It is so nicely planted on the highway. Okay, here we are. We are getting onto the tollway to head back to my little enclave in our part of Austin. And the last place I'm going to take you is to a park. And it's one of my favorite places in our whole neighborhood. Absolutely gorgeous, especially this time of year with all the Texas wildflowers. And we'll just roll through there and I'll kind of give you my final thoughts on this car. Then we'll turn around there, head home, and hop in the Rav4. The storm clouds seem to be moving in here. Is that an NX as well? Oh yeah, look, it is. Looks just like my car. Hey! Is that a 350h? That is actually exactly my car. It's got the same big 20-inch wheels. Yeah, that's my car. So that's what the NX looks like from the outside, if you've ever wanted to know. Okay, so we are on our way to the park now, and one thing that I forgot to mention while we were back out on the road is the seating position in this car. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is it was an adjustment for me coming from bigger SUVs and trucks, in that when you're sitting in a big SUV and a truck, you are really sitting kind of up over the vehicle. You've got this great kind of wide field of view around you. You can do the trucker pose, you know, and have your arm on the windowsill, and the windowsill is down here. In this car, when my arm is up on the windowsill, it is basically at shoulder height. You feel like you're kind of sitting in a bathtub. Not in a bad way, and it's not like driving a Camaro where you feel like you're in a tank, but you do feel like you're driving a car more than you are a crossover or an SUV. Not in a bad way, just in a different way. All right, so we have arrived at the park, and the reason I wanted to bring you here to wrap this up is this is one of my favorite places in the world, in my neighborhood, to be. We are doing about 30 miles an hour here, maybe a little bit less than that. Car's in EV mode. So pleasant, so serene. The Rav4 is nice out here too, especially our Prime and EV mode, but the NX, again, it's the holistic experience, the nicer materials, the beautiful leather on the steering wheel. Such a beautiful driving car. All right, well, as much as I would love to sit in this beautiful park and chat with you all day, I have turned us around. We are on our way home to pick up the Rav4, take that out for a drive. The Rav4 driving session is going to be a lot shorter because I'm not going to get into the same detail about driving dynamics. It is so similar, really, the way that the car handles and the way that it drives, how fast it gets to 60, all that kind of thing, as the NX, that I don't feel like I need to talk about it differently in the Rav4. In the Rav4, when we drive that, it'll mainly be what the differences are. Hopefully you'll hear the difference in noise level in the cabin and what's a little bit different in terms of the plushness of the interior and all that kind of thing. So on our way home, pick up the Rav, and I will see you there. All right, so here we are underway in the Rav4. We are leaving my neighborhood at this point, heading toward the same highway that we took the NX on. And the first thing with the Rav4 that I want to call out here is, you know, although there isn't as much sound insulation in the car, and it's not a, you know, it doesn't have the luxury badge, and we have, you know, lesser materials on the inside, it doesn't take away anything from the pleasantness that the NX has. The NX is more plush, and it is definitely a you know, more technologically advanced kind of car to drive, but it doesn't make a huge difference in terms of the actual driving experience. So the way that I talked about the NX being a great you know, kind of city car, commuter, daily driver, run around town, run to work, run to Target kind of car, the way that it's super pleasant, the Rav4 is as well. I mean, this is a seriously just a really pleasant, really nice car to drive on a day-to-day basis. One thing I will also say as we start to make our way toward the highway is this is a Rav4 Prime, so it's going to be a lot faster than your standard Rav, but the engine note's the same, especially in hybrid mode with our battery pretty much, you know, close to empty here. Now, one thing you're hearing as well, we left the intersection where we started, and we're now in kind of a more, this is just not as nicely a paved road, and you are hearing more coming through the wheels, more coming through the tires in this car, in the Rav4, than you would in the NX. And it's interesting too, because you actually get more road noise and road feel through the wheels with the 18-inch wheels on a RAV hybrid than you do with the 20-inch wheels and the run flat tires on the NX. There is definitely more wind noise coming through the cabin of the RAV4. So I'm going to floor it here. So you probably heard that 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine revving itself away. That's where the NX and the RAV4 don't differ all that much. I mean, it's the same kind of unrefined, unpleasant noise that you get. You get the same vibration through the steering wheel, through the pedals, all that kind of thing. It's just not night and day, really, in terms of driving dynamics. So now we're on that raised viaduct, the same viaduct that we drove the NX on, or the concrete, highway. You're hearing more of that. I feel like I'm having to speak louder in the RAV4 than in the NX, because you definitely get more of it coming into the car, from the outside through the floor. You have wind noise coming off, again, potentially these big square mirrors here. And then if we, gas it again, we're layering on that 2.5 liter engine noise. It's a windy day today too, but it's not like torrential hurricane force winds or anything like that. And we still get a lot of wind noise here. The other thing that you're probably hearing and that I'm feeling in the car, when you hit expansion joints in this car, it is more pronounced. You feel them in the NX, but you don't hear them as much. In the RAV4, you feel them and you hear them. But honestly, even, for all my belly aching about how this car, that it is noisier, that it's not as, well insulated, again, because the engine is just as, it's basically the same engine and same hybrid system as in the NX, the overall driving experience really isn't bad. And now we're on, again, that really nice, really just recently paved asphalt. And you can hear it's not loud at all in here. And the other thing about the RAV4 here that I don't really pay attention to when we're just driving these cars, day to day, is the change over from electric motor to gasoline engine kicking in is imperceptible in both cars. So the engine has been, right now we're in EV mode, but as we were kind of coming down that last stretch, the gas engine was coming on, turning off, coming on, turning off, as I was, asking for more power. And you really don't notice it at all. Really, the only way you're going to notice that the gas engine has kicked on is if you look down and see the EV light has turned off. Now, I happen to be the first at this, first in line here at this intersection, and I'm going to take it off. Looking around for cops. I'm going to try to floor it off the line so you can hear how loud that gets. And the speed limit here, I think, is 45 or 50 anyhow. So, okay, green light. Okay, so what you heard there, that is something that the RAV4 Prime does that I'm not crazy about. I don't think the RAV Hybrid does, because my NX doesn't do it. The tire screeching is a RAV Prime thing, so you won't get that. I don't get that in my NX, and you won't get that in a standard RAV. The reason that happens is Toyota, this engine, or this electric motor in the Prime, has so much power that it can spin the tires, and I am not. This is where people go, but the RAV Prime is so fast, and the same thing with the 450h is so fast, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, but it's not a pleasant fast. It will get you off the line fast, but there's a difference between fast cars and good handling cars. This is a fast car, but it's not a good handling car. You should not buy a Prime or a 450h Plus because you're thinking you're going to get a sporty car. You're not going to get a sporty car. You're going to get a fast car that was never designed to go fast. All right, so here we are finishing up our drive in the RAV4 in the same park that we finished up our NX drive in, and it's just so hard for me to find fault with either of these cars. So yeah, that's the RAV4. It's really hard, again, to find fault with any of these cars, the RAV, the NX, and even the Venza. They offer just such a great value. Even the NX, as expensive as it can get, is just a great value because, again, none of the Germans, none of the Americans offer a full hybrid the way the NX does. The RAV4 here is an incredible value because, again, you're getting this car, this pleasant drive, you know, Toyota reliability, Toyota hybrid efficiency for low to mid 30s. I mean, that's just a screaming deal, and I cannot recommend the RAV4 enough. If you don't have to go to the NX. You know, the NX is really for people who want the nicer interior, want the better technology, want red seats, or you know, whatever it might be. That's why you buy the NX, and you are going to get, you know, nice upgrades over it, but you don't have to go to the NX to get the pleasant driving nature of the Toyota hybrid system. So yeah, that's the RAV4. I'm just gonna head on home and then we'll wrap it up and talk value and verdict, so stick with me. Alright guys, well, as you can probably hear and see, it has started to rain. We just beat the storm clouds back home, so that's awesome. One thing I didn't mention, since it's raining here, in the driving videos for either car is that both the NX and the RAV4 are amazing all-weather cruisers. If you put a good set of tires on the wheels, the e-all-wheel drive system, the way that the car can balance power and manage traction, they make for perfect all-weather cruisers, whether you're talking rain or snow or slick roads. They do incredible jobs out there when the weather is less than perfect. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up now and talk value and verdict. And of course, in a section called value, we couldn't start with any other car than the RAV4 because, like I've said over and over and over again in this video, the thing that is unbeatable about the RAV that no one else can really touch in the market today is its value proposition. Not just the price you're paying for the features you're getting at initial purchase, but also, again, long-term cost of ownership, depreciation. You're going to get a lot of your money back when you go to sell the RAV, even if you have a lower or base model car. I'm filming this in early 2023, and right now the cheapest RAV hybrid is the LE at $30,725. That's the one I think you get if you really are looking for the cheapest RAV hybrid out there. The Hybrid SE starts at $33,420. That's probably where I would personally start out because it's going to give you most of what we have in this RAV Prime. This is actually a RAV Prime SE. So again, very similar in terms of exterior styling and interior materials and all. Is going to be very similar to that Hybrid SE. Then you move on to the Hybrid XSE, and that starts at $36,385. Again, well below $40,000 even for that top trim. Fully loaded, that XSE only gets up to $41,545, and with that fully loaded RAV Hybrid XSE, you are getting things like the panoramic moonroof, the JBL sound system, the 360 camera, so a lot of really nice features for really just around $40,000. I mean, that is, again, in an age where in December of 2022, the average new car transaction price here in the US was $49,050, according to Kelley Blue Book, and we are about $10,000 below that. That's a screaming deal for a great car that, again, will last you well over 10 years, maybe even 20 years if you take care of it. And again, give you a lot of that money back when you go to sell it. So value with the RAV, unbeatable. And I think the RAV is the one you go with if value is your biggest concern with a new car purchase. The NX, on the other hand, equipped the way that most people will probably want one equipped, is going to be comfortably in the $50,000 range. So again, like we talked about earlier, there is a big price difference between the RAV4 and the NX. What you're getting for that jump in price is, again, the more premium experience, better materials, better technology, nicer design all around the car. You're still going to get a lot of this money back when you go to sell the NX down the line, especially the hybrid version of the NX, because it's so good now, it will be desirable for a long period of time. But you have to be okay with that upfront investment being made in, again, better materials, nicer design, slightly better insulation around the cabin, just a more refined and premium experience day to day in the NX than the RAV4. And I actually think because of that big difference in price between the RAV and the NX, they actually complement each other a lot more than they compete with each other. What I mean by that is if this is the size of car that you need in your household and you don't mind having two very similar cars, the NX and the RAV are both really great cars to have together. If you can park both of these in your garage, that is a great combination, as I can attest to because we have both. The RAV4 is, again, a great utilitarian car. I can load that thing up. When we were moving into this house, I packed that thing full, and I didn't really worry if I scuffed the interior or got something dirty in the process. It just isn't nearly as precious as something like this Lexus. On the other hand, when we want to go out and have a nice night on the town, or if we want to drive a nice car to, a hotel for a weekend away, we take the NX. And it's a great, again, highway cruiser. It is great for 2 people. Throw our stuff in the back, 2 small, carry-on suitcases, maybe a few carry-ons in the back seat. Perfect car for that. And because it's not nearly as precious as an LC or something more expensive, a true luxury car, I don't really worry about the valet scuffing it, scraping it, driving it rough or anything like that. That's really what this car was made for, and that's how I use it. So if you have it in your budget to have both, maybe you already have one and you're looking at getting another, have both. And I think that is the perfect combination. I know a lot of people out there have like 2 RAV4s and 2 NXs. And I personally just don't really understand that. Why have 2 identical cars that have an identical mission when you could have 2 similar cars that have 2 very different missions? Again, you've got the car for when you need a car that can get dirty, a car that is very utilitarian, and you've got one that's also, can do the daily driving, but does it in a more premium, more upscale way. So again, less in competition with one another, more in complement to the other. So that's where I think the RAV4 and NX fall. I hope this video was helpful. I hope it answered the questions that I know some of you had. I hope that the driving experience and being out on the road with both of them kind of answered some of the questions that you all had about how they drive and the sound installation and how different are they really. Again, not all that different in terms of the overall drive. Thank you guys for watching another video. I hope you have a great one. Like this video if you enjoyed it. I do these videos for you guys. If you have a question, you want to know something based on our experience as owners, I am more than happy to do that. I don't feel like I can speak to things that we don't own and that we haven't experienced, but I will give it my best shot in the comments. Leave any questions and comments you might still have down there. I will talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of your week and take care.